This is Dave, and I'm here with Ethan, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 183-inch.
On this episode, we conclude our three-part interview with the one, the only, the suave and chic, John Bermuda Schwartz.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Happy American New Year! How are you doing, Ethan? How was your New Year?
Oh, hey, Dave. Happy American New Year to you. I had a great time.
Really? What did you do?
Well, Kate and we drove 3 hours to Connecticut on New Year's Eve, and we got to see a pretty stinking majestic concert featuring They Might Be Giants with Jonathan Colton opening the show, two of my favorite non-Weird Al musicians.
Very cool.
Oh, it was so much fun. They all sang Auld Lang Syne at New Year's right on the dot. There was this confetti and balloons, and there were party hats. Oh, it was so much fun.
Wow, that sounds like a blast. So was it just the two of you in the audience, or were there other people there too?
Oh, Dave, it was totally packed. And we even had a few friends we knew who would be there, including Johnny O'Hearn and Heather Spunky Siren. They were both there. Our friend Lucas Vogler, who we met back on the Strings Attached tour in Philly, he was also there with his dad.
Oh, very cool. What a cool night. And I have to imagine the best part must have been that since this was on the East Coast and I wasn't there, you were the only person in attendance that appears in Weird Al Yankovic story and were special thanked in the credits.
Well, not quite, actually.
Wait, what? How is that possible?
So this is pretty crazy, Dave, but in the giant crowd, endless crowd of people, I spotted none other than Eric Appel's brother, Brad, and his girlfriend, Sam.
No way! I remember meeting and chatting with them at the New York City premiere of Weird Al Yankovic story. Brad was both a visible background actor and was special thanked in the credits. What are the odds?
Well, it turns out that both Brad and Eric are huge They Might Be Giants fans, which isn't too much of a stretch for Weird Al fans to be fans of them. And I was talking to Eric, and he said that he took Brad to see They Might Be Giants when he was only 6 years old.
Wait a minute, you're telling me Eric was 6 years old and he took his younger brother all by himself to a concert?
I think Brad was the one who was 6.
Okay, that makes much more sense.
Well, so Dave, how was your New Year?
It was busy.
Busy? Ugh, I don't believe that. For 4 days, 13 hours, 44 minutes, and 41 seconds.
Oh, it was quite busy. Our intern Frank told me that if you listen to everything that Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast released in 2022, including all of our full-length inch episodes, our ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episodes, and breaking headline news alerts, it would take you exactly 4 days, 13 hours, 44 minutes, and 41 seconds.
Wow! Wait, you listened to everything we released in 2022 on New Year's?
Well, yeah, duh. Like, I'm going to take intern Frank's word for it.
Wow, you must have an awful lot of free time on your hands.
And you know what else intern Frank told me? He said if you listen to everything Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast released ever, it would take you 12 days, 7 hours, 36 minutes, and 9 seconds.
Oh, don't tell me you're listening to everything we have released since 2019.
Of course not. That would be stupid. I made intern Frank do it.
And now it's time for what's happening in Weird Al related news. Last episode, we reported that the radio station WKZG 104.3 FM, Seymour, Green Bay, Wisconsin, rebranded themselves as Weird Al Radio and switched to playing entirely Weird Al music 24 hours a day.
As we suspected, the move was temporary, as yesterday at 4 p.m. burrito time, the station officially switched to an alternative rock station with the new call sign WFZZ.
Weird Al Radio, however, went out with quite a bang, playing 4 of Weird Al's polkas in a row, culminating appropriately enough with the alternative polka, followed finally by Bite Me.
Well, hopefully you had the opportunity to tune in before it ended. as we're not aware of any other way you could possibly listen to Weird Al's music.
Oh, absolutely. There's truly no more convenient way to listen to Weird Al music other than hoping it gets played on terrestrial radio.
Well, Weird Al Radio was the brainchild of music director Eddie Ybarra, and Eddie was nice enough to send us all 22 custom promos, bumpers, and IDs recorded for the channel.
To celebrate, we thought we'd play a few of our favorites, so let's hear them, intern Frank.
Weird Al Radio.
This is Weird Al Radio. Isn't it great? Isn't it wacky? 104.3 Weird Al Radio.
This is your best Christmas gift. 104.3 Weird Al Radio. The Suits told us no. We told them to eat it. 104.3 Weird Al Radio.
Those are so great. Thanks again, Eddie, for creating Weird Al Radio and sending those along.
The New York Times wrote a piece called 71 of Our Favorite Facts of 2022, compiled by Times Insider editors, pulling out what they feel are the most interesting facts to appear in New York Times articles.
Number 61 was the pop music parodist Weird Al Yankovic acquired his first accordion from a traveling salesman and recorded his first hit in a public bathroom.
This fact came from the New York Times review of Weird the Al Yankovic Story, and while they may have learned this in 2022, we think it's something our listeners probably have known since at least 2021.
And would you believe it, we are still finding Weird the Al Yankovic Story articles in print.
Yes, Total Film Magazine features an interview with Daniel Radcliffe in issue 330, and issue 331 has a 4-star review of Weird the Al Yankovic Story.
And the November 2nd, 2022 issue of Variety magazine dedicates the whole last page to a piece on Weird Al.
Thanks to everyone who's been keeping an eye out for Weird Al mentions in the wild. Keep those sightings coming.
This episode is brought to you in part by Vegan Burrito Restaurant, Burrito in Troy, New York, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla Burrito, and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito and Burrito your Burrito, or hop on over to Wizard Burger for mouth-watering, loaded, dare I say beefy, vegan burgers. From Troy to Albany to Uranus, Burrito and Wizard Burger feed the hungry with out-of-this-world, plant-based, real food, always vegan style. Visit burritosquare.com and wizardburger.com to order ahead.
And now it's time for what's happening in Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West-related news. Remember last episode when we reminded you to subscribe to Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West's email newsletter for all of his up-to-date information? And like 2,700 times before in the past?
Well, those who heeded our advice or were already subscribed were treated to a little tease of some information that has yet to be officially announced regarding Weird Al shows in 2023.
Once the information is officially announced, we'll be sure to tell you all about it.
And in case you haven't stopped by patreon.com/2000inch in a while, our Patreon family was recently treated to a plethora of brand new, ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episodes.
And that's not the only treat we have for our Patreon family. Episodes from our brand new Weird bonus series will be dropping there first fairly soon.
And for all you good-for-nothing cheapskates, good-for-something frugal fans, you know who you are. Don't worry, you'll hear these episodes eventually. But until then, you'll just have to keep on waiting patiently.
Or you can sign up over at patreon.com/2000inch, because not only will you get immediate early access to these episodes, you'll also be supporting the podcast. It's a win-win.
Okay, now we pride ourselves on keeping Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast spoiler-free whenever possible. However, we do want to warn you that we do talk a bit about the unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised Vanity tour in this coming interview.
Because that tour is technically still going on with the makeup dates, and the European dates, and the Australian dates, and the new Australian dates, and some of what we talk about could be considered a spoiler to like one person. So if that's you, just consider this your spoiler warning.
And now let's resume our interview with John Bermuda Schwartz, already in progress.
So amazingly, at all the shows that Dave and I went to, the only time where any of us. It was just me. I saw Miles sitting in for Steve for a couple shows. So we didn't see Nick or we didn't see Jim backstage or Ruben out there. And what really surprised me the most was how Miles did absolutely everything in the Yoda chant. Was Nick doing the stuff in the Yoda chant? How do you teach someone that?
You don't. I don't think he was. I mean, he has a chart for it, but I don't think he was. You wouldn't expect him to do that. Nothing that I do in the chant is 100% essential. Like, I don't have any real solo parts in the chant that if they're not there, it's noticeable. So whatever he didn't do, would not have made or broken the chant, or any other parts. Now, he can actually sing, but that was not really part of the deal. I don't know if after a couple of gigs he decided to learn some of the vocal things that I do, which is limited. Mm-hmm. But he certainly can sing. But as far as the chant, we hadn't really covered that. I think I had said specifically, that this is not a must do. Don't worry about it so much. But it is actually, the whole thing is written out, and he had recordings of it, and any changes we made, I sent him a fresh recording. And so he was absolutely up to speed on everything, but I don't think he did. I don't think he attempted the chant. But I don't know. You know what? I could listen to the final show that he did and hear exactly how far along vocally he had come. He certainly would be capable. He would have been capable of it. It was written out.
I guess the other thing I'm asking about is the choreography, I guess, for lack of a better term. You guys are all doing these moves in unison. How do you teach somebody that? Is that written out as well?
No, you send them a video so they can see it. In Miles' case, he saw a video of Steve, doing the show. I think it was just like a static shot, maybe of just Steve. So any interactions or the choreography on the chant, he could see that. Mm-hmm. And he had been working on those parts as well. And Miles did great. I mean, he came in and really, there was very little we had to go over twice with him. And what happens when a sub comes in is the first time a sub comes in, you go through the whole show. You go through the show for that night, in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. The next show, you go through any different songs. You don't have to go through the whole show, unless there's a certain song you'd already done that you want to do again. But if you've already done a song the previous show and it's in that night's show, you don't necessarily have to do it. So it's a shorter sound check. You only have to go through, 6 or 8 or 10 songs maybe. Then the next night, there's even fewer songs that you haven't, played yet. You go through, 4 or 5 or 6 songs, and there's a certain point. I think there was a point with Miles where by the last gig or two that he did, we didn't have to actually go through anything with him. We had already played everything in there, and he was already doing it correctly, and vocally and parts, bass part wise. Mm-hmm. And he had a great time. He really was having a good time with us, and we had a good time with him because it was fresh for him. It was just, he was really excited to be there, and not that any of us aren't, but I mean, this was new for him, and it was a little bit of a different attitude with him. He was really excited to be doing it. And he did a great job. I mean, none of us, hopefully, would bring in subs that couldn't do at least what we do.
Right.
I mean,
right.
You don't want to bring in someone who doesn't play as well. That doesn't make you look good. And it doesn't help the band. I mean, you got to have someone come in that can do exactly what you do, if not better. And Nick was a fabulous drummer. There's no question about him playing the parts. And Miles is a great bass player. There was no question to him about doing. But again, you got to sit down with the band and actually go through it. You can't just hear the songs on a recording and then walk in and do the show.
Right.
It's not quite that simple.
Now, how do you prepare somebody like Nick or Miles or anybody else who might be subbing in for the rotating cover song that's going to be different every night?
Well, we know what songs. We knew a year in advance what songs we were playing on which night, with very few changes, a couple of changes, but not much. It was like 99%, true to the set list that Al had made in November of 21. And most of the set list stayed the same too, I might add. A few of them are different, but for the most part, he had that all planned out and with very few changes. So, rather than, and there were only about 45 cover songs that we would be doing. So rather than tell someone, learn all these songs, it's like, if you need to come out, I can tell you what 4 or 5 songs you might be doing, and here are the recordings of them, because we have recordings of us doing all the songs. Some of them from 2018, and there were some updates that we made on this last tour, and so I provided fresh recordings of songs that we'd made changes to. And same with Miles. He had recordings of the upcoming 6 or 7 songs he would be doing, because we knew in advance what they were.
Right.
So again, rather than try and say, you got to learn 45 songs, it's like, I'll tell you when it's time, and then you can learn 4 songs or 5 songs, and and you'll go through them that day, and they're probably songs that or have played.
Right. That's true.
It's nothing terribly
True,
obscure.
Right.
Not any themes to any podcasts, or a semi-obscure song that Al had written when he was in college in San Luis Obispo, Slow Town. I mean, nothing like that.
Actually,
but,
Miles did do Take Me Down.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he had to learn that, but
Right,
we had a
right.
recording of that.
Right.
Because we had played that live before, so we knew what we'd be doing, and it's not that was easy enough to work on. But he was able to work on that before the day we did it, because Steve told him what the upcoming cover songs would be.
Right.
So that's how we did that. We just saved those until the time it was that they would be needed, and then it's like, oh yeah, and then there's these other 4 or 5 songs you'll be doing, and even if you don't know them, here's recordings of us doing them live, and this is what you can expect, and you'll be going through them the day that you are going to do the songs, so it's not going to be total surprise. We can't surprise the sub, and we can't surprise Al. We can't surprise the show. Everyone's got to be on the same page and got to have it rehearsed and know what everyone's doing. It's not like if I sit in with a cover band and they're going to play Brown Eyed Girl, I know what they're going to do. I can do that without having to rehearse it. It's a little bit different with Al. That's a lot different with Al.
Yeah, he has a way he wants it done, and you got to respect that.
Right. And even when Al is doing a familiar cover song, it's not always exactly the way the original was. I mean, sometimes it's exactly the way, and other times it's not. I don't think we did it on this tour, but in 2018 we did Honky Tonk Woman, like once. And we played it exactly like the record, because there's a built-in arrangement, there's an ending, that's just how the song goes. But there's other songs, maybe there's a giant long solo in the middle of a song or something, and Al doesn't want to do that. We don't want to play a 6-minute cover song. We'll cut down the solo, and so there'll be an arrangement consideration there. If a song fades out, you have to create an ending for it. You can't fade out live very successfully. It's Al does have specific ways he wants stuff done, and sometimes it's okay, I specifically want it just like the record, and we all know how that goes, or I specifically want it this different than you hear it on the record. Sometimes there's a key change which affects doesn't affect the drummer, but it affects the other guys who may be familiar with playing a song, let's say Brown Eyed Girl is in a certain key, and Al needs it in a different key because he doesn't sing that high or doesn't sing that low or whatever it is.
Oh, got it.
And so when the guys do that, they have to. They play their instruments differently. You don't just. Technically, Ruben can push a few buttons and transpose his keyboard so he can just play all the same keys, and suddenly it's in a different key. He doesn't actually have to play it differently. But on a bass or a guitar or on the accordion, you do have to actually play different notes. And so there's, stuff like that needs to be gone through. And that's why we would work on those things the afternoon of the show. And on this last tour, some of the songs got played, 2, several of them were played 3 times. By the time we would get to the 3rd time around, we would always play it, as a refresher, but we didn't ever really have to work on it. Sometimes we'd play it, one time through and just look at each other and go, yeah, sounds great. And that'd be it. Sound check would be like 5 or 10 minutes. And okay, that's it. And it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
Thanks.
The one cover song that I know Dave and I and a lot of other fans were discussing a lot, trying to understand why it was changed, was 8675309. Do you know why Al changed the numbers? Do you know what those numbers were that he changed it to? Do you have any insights you can share?
Oh, Al. No, he just thought it would be funny to change that up. I mean, it became 5204189, and just because he wanted to just change it up. Just because everyone is so familiar with the other number that she had to change her number, and now the number is 5204189. It's because this lyric is Jenny, don't change your number, and he changed it to Jenny, you changed your number, or something like that, and then he's made up this other new number. But it doesn't really have any significance.
Is that just what you are supposed to say, or is that the real answer?
Well, he didn't run it by me, but I believe that's what was.
Okay.
Why does the number mean something? I'm not aware that the number means anything.
That's what I'm trying to find out. That's the big mystery.
We've not been able to.
Well, I mean, 867, sort of rhythmically goes with 520, and I guess you could pick, several other numbers, 5309, 4189. I mean, you have to pick numbers that have one syllable, but 867, 7 has two syllables, so he had to use a 0, because that's got two syllables. Actually, that's the only number that's got two syllables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. 7 and 0. So those became interchangeable. I'm not aware that the number means anything.
Okay. It wasn't like Chemo's number or something. That was.
Oh no, that's been done. That's been done. That was a recording for phony calls.
Yeah.
that was his 7-digit phone number. And I think I don't think that was his number. That might have been his number at that time. I know he had moved at some point, but I think that was 1996. I think that may have still been his phone number at the time. But I don't know that anybody would have tried to dial it. They probably just thought they were random numbers because it sounded that way, right. But those were actually the tones for his number. I don't remember what the number was, but that was his. Yeah, this number, no, I don't think this number means anything.
Okay.
Now, were there any cover songs that stood out to you that you really were looking forward to doing? I know you did at least one Beatles cover song. I'm sure maybe there might have been others.
Most of them, all of them, I guess. I mean, it's fun to do something out of the norm. I mean, we're already doing a different show every night, a different selection of songs, but it doesn't take long before you are repeating the same, 37, 38 songs. And after a couple of weeks, you've gone through each one, at least once, sometimes, 7 or 8 times. With the cover songs, they come up a lot less frequently. I mean, it was actually really cool in 2018 to have done 77 different ones. That would have been a lot of work to do that many this time. And Al thought, we'll just, we'll change a few out and we'll narrow it down and we'll do them each like 3 times. Mm-hmm. And that'll be, because otherwise it became like a lot of work. Because how Al is. He wants to do things. He wants it to sound like, the record. I mean, he wants to be perfect. It's either that or if we can't sound like the record, then we have to sound like a bar band. It's one or the other. You can't do it halfway. It's got to either be right or it's got to be, a half-assed attempt. It can't be anywhere in the middle. It's got to be, we obviously can't make it sound like the record, so we're not even going to try. It's going to be a completely different thing. But no, I looked forward to all of them. I mean, I enjoyed each of them. I liked them all. I mean, I had helped pick several of those, in fact, left over from the 2018 tour. I suggested a bunch of those songs. So, some of them were particularly fun for me, like Blister in the Sun was one of my suggestions.
Oh, cool.
And that's a song that one of my bands does. One of my regular cover bands that's in the repertoire. Several songs. We had on the 2018 tour done Vertigo by U2, because that's one of the songs that I had played in this other band. And I didn't suggest them just because, well, if I get a bunch of songs in there, I already know the parts. I don't have to work as hard. I thought, you know what, if the people that this other band plays for, if they like the songs, then Al's audience would probably like them too. I mean, they're just good songs. They're hit songs. So, and obviously, none of them would have got by Al if he didn't actually want to do them too. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them were my suggestions. And so, I mean, a lot of them I did look forward to playing. I look forward to playing all of them. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was a nice change of pace. It was really cool to do something completely different, and to see the audience react, because they never knew what we were going to do. And to see the audience react to us playing like a straight song, which we don't really do.
Right.
Well, there's another fun moment in the set list that I want to ask you about, and that is the origin of your drum solo called My Drum Solo. How did that come about?
Oh boy, I think I don't remember how that started, but I think I did that on the 2018 tour for the first time, and thought that was. I think Al thought that was pretty funny, and so I didn't want to do it every time, but I don't remember. I don't remember exactly when I did that. I suppose I could go back and listen to every stinking single recording, because every one of those shows was recorded. I'm sure I can pinpoint the very first time I did that, but I don't remember the origin, other than that my Bologna, my Sharona, my drum solo, sort of popped into my head at some point, and I thought, I'll just have some fun with it. And the first time I did it, it got a really good reaction, so I thought, I'm onto something here. So, I got to do that almost every night on this last tour, because I would almost always get 2 drum solos, and if I didn't, I don't think I ever tried to do it first. I always knew, because sometimes the drum solo was planned, and I didn't know where it was going to come, but it was planned. It was like, Al knew where it was going to be, but I didn't. And he also knew, which is not always important if I know, but he also, knew if there was going to be another one. And again, I didn't. But there were also times where maybe there was one, and there were other times where, Jim had to tune his guitar or something, and in order to avoid dead air, all of a sudden there was another drum solo that was, a surprise to both of us. So I quickly learned that there could be up to 2 drum solos, sometimes 3.
Yeah.
I think he eventually cut it down to 2, but I learned not to give away the My Drum Solo, right up front. I would just do the old stupid solo, which is a hit, which everyone likes and expects.
And it is literally a hit.
Literally a hit.
It's a drum solo, and then if I was lucky enough to get another solo, which was about like 9 out of 10 times, I would get a second solo. Then I would give him the My Drum Solo. And there were a few times, and I'd already given that out, and then there'd be times where he'd ask for another one, like there'd be a situation that came up and there was dead air, and he would ask for, Jim needed more time to tune or whatever, and he would be forced to ask for another solo. Now I'm forced to think of, well, I only have 2 solos and I've done them both. What am I going to do? And so I just do another thing where I do sort of a crescendo on the snare, and then that's it. Which is as stupid as just hitting it one time, although it lasts a little bit longer. So, so that's it. But yeah, the origin of, I can tell you the origin of the stupid solo, for all of us, really. Back in the early days, we used to, it'd be time, bass solo or, guitar solo or whatever, and we would all play like some really cool thing on our instrument, I would do like some fancy, flourishes or something, for, about 10 or 15 seconds, or Steve would do something, whatever it was. And, the audience was like, yay. And we quickly learned that, and this was on the Stupid tour, everything was stupid band, stupid bus, stupid tour. And in 1985, that if we did something stupid, that was like even funnier. And that's where, I used to just hit every drum one time, and then that was it. That was my whole solo. And then it got down to just like, well, that's too busy. I'll just hit one drum. And then that became, the stupid solo for most of the rest of my career. So that's how the stupid one came about. But the My Drum solo, I don't know. One day I did it and sang that at the end, and it was a hit. So there you go.
Love it.
Now I'm looking at the song tracker that our buddy Brad Hebert runs, and Dave and I were at this show where you did the Tale of Little Suck-a-Thumb, but it's only showing up on his as only playing one time. Was that just the one show this tour?
I vaguely remember doing it at all. That's one of those things. Al can call on me to do that, like just out of the blue, and it's in my brain, it's in my head, and I can just on no notice just rattle it off. I guess I did it once. I don't remember. I mean, Brad's done a great job with the tracker. There's been some times I went in there and made a correction or two. I mean, I look at it too. I try not to make that my personal list of what we do, but I do, I think it should be as accurate as possible. So there's things, or if we play somewhere and there was nobody there who could log the songs,
mm-hmm.
then there's no songs for that date. So I will go, and after a few days go by and it's like, obviously nobody came forward, I'll go ahead and fill those in. Now, unfortunately, I don't always remember, who got solos that night. I mean, it's a safe bet I got solos, but I don't remember all of the different things that happened.
Right.
So those are sort of, I mean, you can rely on the song lists as far as all the extra little bits. I wouldn't, that's probably about 99% accurate, but I wouldn't swear to any of that. The cover songs are all accurate as far as I could see, but I made sure I would go in there and, I'm signed on so I can make changes to that.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So, but as far as how many times I did Suck-a-Thumb, I don't know if I only just did it once. It didn't happen very often, that's for sure. I mean, if I did it twice, that's probably the most that it happened. And that would have to be, since that takes up some time, that would have to be like, there would have to be like an emergency or something happening, And I don't remember what would have happened that would have forced him to make me take like a minute, to do something. But that's when that comes up, is if Al needs to buy some time,
right?
And more than just 10 seconds for a drum solo, for example.
Yeah.
But I guess once, maybe twice, I don't know. But I never know when that's coming up.
Right.
But it's okay, because again, he can call it and I can immediately just do it. That's something I learned when I was like 13. A friend of mine had a book of called something Struwelpeter, which was like a German or a Dutch book or something, like, and it means like slovenly Peter, like this little boy who's just like a mess, just like a bad boy, I guess. And one of the songs in there, one of the poems in there, was about this kid that sucks his thumb, and so it's just, I guess they're supposed to be stories to tell kids to not suck their thumb or to not slide down the banister of the stairs. There was a whole story about that. Something about Johnny Slider Legs was the story about that. But anyway, so it was an English translation of all of these, of Slovenly Peter. And so this one story, like my friends and I would do with albums, we would memorize like entire albums, and we had memorized, this poem, and it's just in me. It's just stayed in me all these years, and I could do it right now if you want, but it's not really. We're not having technical difficulties, so that's okay. So I'll spare you. But yeah, honestly, maybe I did that twice on the tour. Not sure.
That's funny.
Well, now you said that Little Suck-a-Thumb is from a German children's book, and you will be playing Germany next year, so maybe you'll get called to do Little Suck-a-Thumb while you're in Germany.
Yeah, das ist wahr. That would only work if I could do it in German.
Well, you got 3 months from reading. I believe in you.
Oh boy, no. You know what? No, that's not. No. I hope not. I think not. Probably not. Again, there's that language barrier thing I talked about earlier. I'm not sure they would they would quite. Although, I don't know. I mean, in every country, in every other non-English speaking country, the last generation or two have come up and they've learned English pretty well. 40 years ago it would have been a little difficult. Now the last generation or two, they're learning English along with their native language, and they're doing pretty good. I mean, that's the case in Japan, and a lot of the Asian countries, and I would assume in the European countries. I mean, I know that's been the case in Sweden and Norway, and we didn't have any language barrier issues at all. Everyone spoke English with us, and spoke well. I mean, they obviously had learned it well, and in fact, we had more of a problem understanding people like in Ireland because of the accent.
Right.
Was a barrier to understanding what they were saying. It's like they had to listen really carefully. Whereas in other countries where they had to learn English, they learned it very properly and phonetically correctly. Very kind of unaffected. If anything, maybe they would have learned it with a slight English accent. If they'd spent any time in the UK. But anyway, it was interesting. Everyone spoke English with us just fine, except in Ireland, it was really difficult to understand them. In England, a little bit. It's not quite as affected as. And we'll be back. We're starting the European tour in Dublin, so we're going to have a chance to test our listening skills again there.
Yep. I want to ask you about another little fun thing that happens in the concert. And Ethan and I would always listen to this whenever this song was played. And this happens in the song Melanie. There is a little meow that you trigger. You tell us about that.
Aww. Meow! Like that? Yeah.
We love that.
That, you know what? That... I love that too. I wonder if it's not getting a little too old. I can tell you where that came from. That was Tommy Davidson from the old In Living Color.
Oh.
And that was I have a recording of him from doing a stand-up at Just for Laughs in 1990, I believe it was. 90 or 91 in Montreal, actually. And I have a recording, and I don't know if it was a video or if I had somehow recorded it or what it was, but he was doing a thing on there, and he did like this cat scream. And that's actually Tommy doing wow! and I thought that was sufficiently, outrageous and bombastic, and if you gave your cat a mohawk, that's what it would sound like. That would be its reaction. So yeah, that's Tommy Davidson. I never thanked him or paid him for that. So Tommy, if you're listening, thank you.
If Tommy agrees to come on the podcast and talk about that meow, I will put forward $5. So here you go, Tommy.
Okay, thank you. Well, he'll probably deny it, but
Oh, that's incredible.
Well, you're getting all sorts of little secrets out of me today.
Yeah.
I should write a book. I should write another book. I should make it no pictures, just secrets.
Just tour secrets. That'd be great. Behind the scenes with John Bermuda Schwartz.
I would love that.
No, that would be. I doubt if I would get Al's permission for that.
Since we're diving deep into all the little tour secrets, there was at the end of the tour. Usually you would go off stage for the song You Don't Love Me Anymore, but I did notice that a couple times you remained on stage at your drum set. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. That wasn't planned. Actually, yeah, that wasn't. I was just kind of screwing with Al. Yeah. Well, he had. Steve would get up and, Al would say something about Steve, and then Al would turn around and look at me. He says, you going to stay there? And I would kind of, I would like nod my head. Then I would go, oh, no. And I would get up. That would be like my invitation to leave. And one night, and I would wait for that, and then one night he didn't ask. He didn't turn around. And I thought, well, I'll just sit here. And then I thought, well, I'll do some shtick. Well, in the little breaks between the verses, between the chorus and the verse, when Al used to do the song, and he would have a guitar and he would like swing it around and get ready to play it, and then he didn't actually play it, and they'd swing it back around and keep singing. Well, I thought, well, I'll pretend I'm going to do something on the drums or the cymbals or something, because I'm sort of in the light. I mean, people can see me, especially if I move my arms up and I do something, that brings a little attention over. And I noticed that Al would look back to see what I was up to during the little breaks between the vocals. And I'm getting ready to look like I'm hitting something, then I don't, then I pull back. Anyway, we did that a few times, and that had run its course, and then that was the end.
I'm glad that we got to experience those. That was really funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think that happened about 3 times, and then that was kind of it.
Yeah, along those lines, I'm certainly being out on the road for 6 months. This has to have come up. Are there pranks that you play on other members in the band, or Al, or that Al plays on you guys, or that is played between anybody in the band or crew? Are there pranks that go on during these 6 months out on tour?
No, that would have been a good idea, though. That would have broken the tension. No, no. I don't think so. No, I don't think that's rarely the case. I mean, no, I don't recall anything. I mean, not really on stage anyway. No, I don't think anything. I don't think there was anything.
I didn't know.
6 months is a long time. I'm trying to think back to at what point we would have got into the prank stage. I think whenever that was, we got into there's only 4 or 6 weeks left to go. We'll be home soon, and we can relax, and we're ready to stop doing this for a little while. I mean, we all like what we do, we love what we do, but there's a limit to it. You got to have a little bit of break, and as I said, there's a lot of logistics involved, not the least of which is moving in and out of 5 to 6 hotels a week, as a rule, and
sure, yeah,
and it's tiring. It gets very tiring. So this was a whole new thing for us, this length, without any breaks. I mean, technically, I had 5 days off, and Al, and we all had like 5 days off when Al tested. We all just kind of sat waiting for him to test negative again. So we, early on in the tour, less than a month into the tour, we had almost a week off. But again, that was not the plan. And that was so early in the tour, that wasn't really like a useful break. That would have been great if that had happened in August, like my little break. But no, this was nothing, no gags or pranks, or it was everyone was pretty straight ahead on this one.
I just had one last thing on the tour, and this is kind of rolling back a little bit. You gave us a really great explanation on the coverage plan for when a band member was out. Was there any kind of plan for if Emo had tested positive, or was it just going to be, well, I guess there's no opener tonight?
No. We were going to have, because it's so similar, we were going to have Chemo open and just change the marquee, just put a K up, and instead of Emo, it's Chemo, and have him come out and he would talk about his songs. I was in Hawaii and I wrote a song about eating poi, and it goes like this. And hey, I could go out there and do 30 minutes.
You could.
I know both of his jokes. I know the slinky joke and the pourquoi. That's half the, and if you stretch him out long enough,
right,
you only need about 5 jokes for 30 minutes. I mean, his timing is really good. And he stretches it out, and then it takes about 4 or 5 seconds for the audience to catch up. And then, I mean, each joke takes like a minute or more. I mean, you could really, you don't have to know much. He's got a lot of stuff that he does. He's got a lot of different routines. So I don't want to say that he's got a dozen jokes and that's all you hear. But he's But that was the plan, was to have Jim come out and play.
Oh,
play
cool.
guitar.
Oh, wow.
I guess I hadn't considered that. That's a great idea. That would have been fun.
And I mean, I think that would have been a good substitute for the audience, because they know Jim.
Yep.
I mean, it might have been okay if we didn't have an opener at all, but I mean, then Al just wants to have something to lead up to our portion of the show. Plus, we're not doing 2-hour shows anymore. We're doing like 100-minute show. A little less than 2 hours, and he wants a little added value for that. So he wants that extra 30 minutes of something going on before we go on. So yeah, that was the plan, was for Jim to go out and play. Never happened. Emo was extremely careful on tour, slightly more careful than I, apparently. But Emo was very, very careful. Steve was not 100%, but he was pretty careful, and he didn't test positive at all. So I don't know. I guess I don't know how I did. I mean, I was extremely careful, and well, as you guys can attest, I mean, I rarely saw you. If I saw you at all, I waved from a distance.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't see like anybody on this tour. And, but yeah, emo, chemo, same thing.
Well, Bermuda, before we officially let you go, I have to ask you about this incredible box set for Lights, Camera, Accordion. I know we talked about it a little bit a few months ago before it came out, but now actually like having it in my hands and getting to appreciate it, how incredible it is. I would love to hear about that and what sort of reactions you've heard. But the first question I have is, I remember when the first box set came out back for Black and White and Weird All Over, the Certificate of Authenticity number 27 was reserved for Al. Was that the same case this time?
Yeah, which means I don't get paid for that book.
Oh.
Yeah, Al got number 27. I'm sure he appreciates it. I'm sure he appreciated getting that. So he got number 27 on both boxes. They did a really nice job on this box. They added some extra stuff, plus it was in color, and managed to charge only $4 more for it. I mean, it's a pretty good deal.
It's incredible
for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very happy with the way that turned out. The postcards and the 9x12 prints turned out really nice. That little film strip with the frames from the Bob video.
Yep.
Was pretty fun. That's sort of, I wasn't sure how that was going to be handled. I mean, I know who did that. I submitted the photos for that. There's a company that does those, and I didn't know it was going to be laminated, and which is actually a good idea, because it could get pretty beat up otherwise.
Yeah.
But it's basically it's meant to be like a bookmark.
Yeah, I think it's
that,
wonderful.
That's sort of a cool thing.
I love that.
Oh, thanks. But the other cool thing was the 2 extra sheets in there, the set list and then the itinerary for our very first tour, were also kind of fun. The set list, and there's a description on the back of the sheets as to what those are. That's from our legendary opening for Missing Persons show, April 9th, 1981. I'm sorry, 1982. And that I had to explain what some of the songs on there were. And I realized after I had done that, and after the box was out there, and I looked at the sheet again, it's like, oh, I didn't explain what Bottle is and what Stupid is, and there's some other things I neglected to explain. I just explained that Polkas on 45 was different than what was on the album, and what was in the food medley. I thought those deserved to be, a little explanation. But it occurred to me I could have gone on. Ink is cheap. I certainly could have added an extra paragraph. and then on the itinerary, it was actually like the cover page for our very first itinerary. It was cool to go in and find out how many of those places are still open. Like more than half of them are still open and hosting live music, which is pretty amazing. 39 years later.
Yeah.
And considering some of these were like basically just clubs, that's unusual for a club to be around that long.
Right.
Well, so some of them weren't. Almost half of them didn't make it. But it was sort of cool to know that several of them were still around. And also got to talk a little bit. I think I mentioned that we had driven. Al wasn't old enough to be insured for a rental car yet, so we all shared in the driving, and including Dr. Demento. I mean, and he was basically the star. This first tour was, we were the musical guests of his tour.
Right.
It wasn't really even our tour, and he drove. We all pitched in, and it was pretty cool. It was fun. We went to several of us probably went to Canada for the first time. Not Jim, he was born there, but that we go through customs and they go, "Oh, welcome back, eh?" Anyway, that was a fun tour in that respect, and we moved all our own gear. We were at the mercy of whatever person was doing the sound at that venue, but again, we didn't have this was mostly Dr. Demento's show. He controlled, he would give them a feed of his audio and a mic. And that was it, and they would just put that through the PA. And for us, it was just a band. We weren't really. I think we might have run the Ricky video, but that would have been run through Barry's, through Dr. Demento's system. But we were just a band, so that was simple enough to mic up, and that was it. There wasn't a whole lot to it, but a fun tour, and. That appears on Jay Levy, still Al's manager, on his letterhead of the day from Imaginary Entertainment, and it was interesting because I had sent him a box set as well, and he said, "Oh, I didn't have like any of my old stationery. This is really cool to have this, this reproduction of the stationery." So that was, we got like the same color as his original stationery was. But anyway, that was, there's some nice extras in this box, and I think they did a really nice job on it.
Yeah.
And for only a few dollars more. So for all this extra stuff, it's coming out of someone's pocket. Oh, it's coming out of my pocket. That's right. I'm making less on each one. That's okay. That's it. I did this for love. Not for the money. Well, I get a few bucks. But, no, I did this. This was a really a fun. But the first one was a lot of fun. It was so cool to have this, to help put it all together and to supply all the source material and to write text for it. I've never really written stuff, that was meant to be read by anybody. So it was kind of cool, and it was a neat process. It was a lot of fun for me. So I really enjoyed that. And I'm very proud to be a twice published author. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's incredible. And anyone who is interested in, for some reason, if they do not have Lights, Camera, Accordion yet, I think there's still a couple copies of Lights, Camera, Accordion, the box set. But right now on 1984publishing.com, the regular edition of the book actually comes with a signed book plate. So if someone missed out at at Carnegie Hall and is really bummed they didn't get a signed copy, well, they still have a chance. 1984publishing.com. And Bermuda, it's so great to get to chat with you and hear about the tour and talking about being a character in a movie and the new book. We're really excited for you guys to have your world tour in a couple months.
Oh, well, cool. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me back. Should I turn on the recorder and we'll start this thing?
Anytime you're ready.
Okay.
It's a good rehearsal.
All right. Hi. Good to be here. Sorry. Well, thanks again for having me back. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, John Bermuda Schwartz, for joining us yet again on the podcast. It is always such a thrill to get to talk to you.
If for some gosh-forsaken reason you haven't already, be sure to pick up his brand new, pretty stinking majestic book, Lights, Camera, Accordion. Eye-popping photographs of Weird Al Yankovic, 1981 through 2006, on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. You will not regret it.
And do not worry, you can still pick up one of those pretty stinking majestic box sets over at 1984publishing.com.
This episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's also...
Ooh, we need to interrupt you right there, Ethan, because you know what that sound means. That means that we have a message on our 347 Spatula hotline, the official hotline of David Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
All right, well, intern Frank, let's hear it.
You are receiving a collect call from intertwined, press 7.
Dave? Ethan? I've been locked up ever since part 1 of the interview with John Bermuda Schwartz for my horrendous crime. I have been charged with second degree hugging the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota, a honor only bestowed upon Weird Al Yankovic. My sentencing includes that I am now financially responsible for all of the wooden nickels for Discover Darwin, and so that's going to put me back years. I also have to get discoverdarwin.biz back up and running. But I do need you to help post my bail. Can I borrow $5?
Wait, is that real?
Probably not, but maybe.
Anyway, anonymous caller, if that is your real name, we appreciate that you used your one and only phone call to reach out to us on our official 347 Spatchel hotline, but we here at Dave and Ethan's 2000 Weird Al podcast absolutely, under no circumstances, can support hooliganism in any way when it comes to the twine ball.
And besides, we just spent our last $5 exporting corn nuts from Santa Barbara to cater Dave's quinceanera.
Well, at least something good came out of this unfortunate situation. It appears that discoverdarwin.biz is back up in... Oh, no, wait, it's not. Never mind.
So here's your last free day before incarceration in Darwin, Minnesota. Discover Darwin, more than just the twine ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to attempt to visit discoverdarwin.biz, just in case.
This is a special hamster alert to the Dave and Ethan's 2000 Weird Al podcast broadcast alert system, sponsored by Jack Bateman.
As we all know, Spider-Man gained his superpowers after being bitten by a radioactive spider. And one of those powers is the ability to stick to walls.
As one hamster named Smurf from Bug Broke in 2012 found out, there are other ways to gain superpowers.
In a bizarre twist of fate, after Smurf the hamster chewed on a Spider-Man toy, she gained the ability to stick to walls?
Well, in a sense at least. Smurf chewed off and stuffed a magnet from the toy in her mouth, causing her cheek to get stuck to the bars of the metal cage.
The Meech family found Smurf dangling 5 inches up from the bottom of her cage, and luckily, she was A-OK.
So please let that be a lesson to you. Only get bitten by spiders. Do not bite Spider-Man.
That is all for this episode's very important special hamster alert via the Dave and Ethan's 2000 Weird Al podcast broadcast alert system.
Dave and Ethan's 2000 Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors Burrito, Jackson Scoggins, Discover Darwin, and Jack Bateman. Our podcast is also supported by everyone else in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our amazing close personal friend level Patreon supporters: Blair, Kev, Javier, Scott, UH Jeff, Nancy, NES Josh 64, Mike, Matthew, Kenneth, Gus and Alicia, Allison, Adriana, Ajax, Jake, Zeb, Zach, and Dana B. Also thanks to Brad and everyone else in our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our Weird Al podcast, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/2000inch. There are awesome benefits like getting your name on the podcast, your own private RSS feed, and access to secret episodes.
And now would be a good time to join if you have not already, because not only will you be the first to hear our remaining The Unfortunate Return of the Ridiculously Self-Indulgent Ill-Advised Vanity Tour concert review bonus episodes of 2022, you will also be the first to hear our brand new Weird Al Yankovic Story Insider bonus episode series.
And don't forget to check out our official merchandise over at shop.2000inch.com. All proceeds from purchases go directly towards supporting this fine podcast. With the new year upon us, this is not only an opportunity to replace the batteries in your smoke alarms, but also to replace those nasty throw pillows on your couch. Shop.2000inch.com offers 4 different indoor pillow options to suit your decorating needs, including a 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast logo pillow and the ever-popular Gil and Chillo.
We love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans, so be sure to join our Facebook community at group.2000inch.com and visit our Discord server for even more riveting Weird Al and Red Rum to Goody related conversations. You can find both of them linked on our website, as well as information about past episodes and guests over at weirdalpodcast.com or 2000inch.com.
And while you're there, click on Ridiculously Self-Indulgent bonus episodes to follow along with our adventures on tour, or Black and White and Weird All Over bonus episodes for our special series where author John Bermuda Schwartz walks us through his first book, page by page and picture by picture.
Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And thank you for subscribing and leaving reviews on your favorite podcast app. Make sure you are subscribed because not only does it help the podcast, it's also quite soothing, like the unmistakable sounds of the ukulele. Plus, we absolutely love it when we receive voicemail via our official patent-pending 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline, 347-SPATULA. Give it a call. It's a real number, 347-772-8852. You might even hear your message in a future episode.
Thank you once again to our epic guest, John Bermuda Schwartz. We also want to thank Chris Michaud, Eddie Ibarra, Jackson Scoggins, and Catherine Belia. Thank you to the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West for our incredible podcast theme song, and thank you to Weird Al Yankovic, as this podcast probably would not exist without him. And a big thanks to all of you, our loyal listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters, and sponsors, and everyone else who makes our podcast possible.
Thank you for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000 Weird Al podcast. And until we meet again, remember to gill and chill.
Well, Dave, the American New Year is upon us. So, do you have any resolutions for 2023?
Yes, this year I've decided that I want to break a record.
Whoa! That's such a great way to challenge yourself, Dave. I'm so proud of you. Have you given any thought to which record you'd like to break?
Yes, I think I've made my decision.
Oh, no. Let me guess. The longest time spent bouncing on a bouncy castle. No. Most toothpicks stuck into your uvula. No. Most chainsaws juggled while yodeling underwater in the nude.
No, nothing like that. I was thinking I'd break a Yoko Ono record. And done.
That was David Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 183-inch.
Already smashing our New Year's resolution.
So, Tommy, if you're listening, thank you. Wow.